Good morning everyone. In this video I'm going to analyze the live price action for EU and DXY to see what opportunities may be available for today. You're going to see my strategy and my analysis, so if you're interested in those then please stick around. Right, so starting off here on the daily chart, we have EU on the top, DXY on the bottom. Before we get into it, today is PMI, I believe. There's news announcements, red folder news announcements all day. So the actual chances to execute may not come. It's definitely one to be patient for. Keep your eye on these news announcements, especially if you are executing. And price action might just be a bit less cooperative in the build up to these news announcements. So just be aware of those. You can see them all here. Loads of announcements. One coming in about 15 minutes, 10 minutes, and then more later on in NY. So let's analyze anyway. What's the daily showing us? Well, previous day, massive bearish engulfing candle, right? The market chose this side. It is pulling back. It's pulled back into this imbalance here on the daily chart, right? It's being drawn to this imbalance, at least this imbalance. There is one below, but concentrating on this for the time being after we took buy side liquidity from previous external highs up here. So I've got that daily imbalance line here just to keep an eye on it on the lower time frames, right? So that's why that line is there. Doesn't mean price has to meet that line, but it might, right, to fill the imbalance completely. Of course, we have the same imbalance still on DXY. Now DXY has not moved as much as EU, right? There's still loads of imbalance left there. We'll see what that means or if that matters later on, right? Today with plenty of news, it could easily fill that and fill that quite comfortably. So far today we've taken previous daily lows on EU and previous daily high has been swept on DXY. So sell side liquidity, buy side liquidity. It's not really caused much of a pullback at the moment. You can still see this is quite a bearish candle. Obviously DXY is slightly different. There's a bit more of a pullback there. But yeah, at the moment, nothing crazy we can see on the daily from using that sell side liquidity. We still may be drawn to fill this gap. So not much has changed on the daily except for that price is definitely bearish and maybe going to fill this gap here. I think let's go down to the 4 hour and see what that's showing us. So on the 4 hour here, there's a few things I've noted just so we can keep an eye on those. So we had this 4 hour gap here imbalance and 4 hour imbalance just below here. So we filled that second imbalance to a degree, right? We've mitigated that somewhat. And price has withdrawn from there, which is also below that previous daily low. So sell side liquidity and a mitigation of a 4 hour imbalance POI. There's not been loads of momentum from there. It did cause that candle to close out like how it did. But after that bullish momentum from that mitigation and sell side liquidity, you can see we've drawn back down bearish anyway. However, there is a POI above, an imbalance above, and an imbalance above that, which is more into the premium of this internal bearish leg here. Okay, so we may see some bullish reaction from here, or once we feel this daily imbalance, which may draw us back into one of these POIs here. Bearish leg, we swept buy side liquidity internally here, where that SMC divergence was that I explained yesterday as well, with this low to this higher low, and broke down very bearish from there, right? But couldn't even catch the trade. It just broke down all the way down here. Okay, broke through that previous weekly low, no pullbacks really. So that was a nice example of how buy side liquidity and SMC divergence can indicate a direction. So anyway, now we're here, possible support, right? That's why I have this 4 hour imbalance here in purple. Possible support we're seeing here to keep an eye on. But I also have that daily imbalance line to show that we still have further imbalance that price may be drawn into. And then if we look over onto DXY, our inverse, we've taken previous weekly high, buy side liquidity yesterday. Then today we've spiked up and swept previous daily high and had some bearish reaction from there. Let me just expand that a little bit. So we don't have the same massive imbalances in this leg here, but we'll see if price pulls back and what price does either way, right? So yeah, to summarize the 4 hour, new bearish leg, internal, right? We could call it an internal leg. Possible support around here. Room for further bearish price action though. And these are our POIs above that price may be drawn into later. Right? At the moment, price action is still bearish, right? You can see we've took some sort of internal buy side liquidity above these candles maybe. and we're going bearish now. So I hope that was clear. I hope I didn't ramble on and confuse too much. Let me know in the comments if you need something explained. So let's go down to the 1 hour and see what that's showing us. So on the 1 hour, you see that leg a lot more clearly, a lot more cleanly, right? This massive bearish price action all day yesterday. Previous daily high, straight to the previous daily low. It was just a bearish move all day. Buy side liquidity, SMC divergence, SMC there, strength, weakness, right? So very clear bearish leg there. So into today and Asia, you can see we come down, dipped into that 4 hour POI below the previous daily low and had 3 hours of bullish price action, mitigated this hourly imbalance here with order block, right? And had a bearish engulfing, right? It pretty much absorbed all of that, what would be a lower time frame trend line there, I would assume. Okay, so we took some internal buy side liquidity, mitigating this POI, and had a massive bearish engulfing on the hourly. Let me just zoom in. So price may or may not be finding support here, right? We made a low, little internal high low, lower low. We've pulled back, possibly another lower high to continue with a lower low. Right, we can see that on the 15-minute, that'll be like the internal 15-minute legs. However, if we don't make that lower low, possibly it's signs of a bullish pullback or something for this weak high. But it's too early to draw that conclusion. Same with DXY, bullish leg, pulled back, went to make that higher high, but it closed as a sweep, right? So buy side liquidity of the previous daily high. And then we've kind of broke down internally. You can see now that bearish price action, right? Because we've got divergence, yeah? So you can see now from these highs here to this high is a lower high, okay? And then from here to here is a lower low. Possible divergence signs for EU weakness, but if I look at the structure of it, we've got this low here, swept some buy side liquidity, made a lower low internally, and now we're pulling back. We've pulled back into this imbalance, okay? And maybe that provides some resistance on the hourly or lower time frame on DXY to send prices lower and send prices higher here for that weak high I mentioned. So I don't want to get confused with the SMC divergence there, because it can happen. It's not something that on its own I would trade with. So structure wise, we've got a lower low here in DXY, but we didn't get that higher high on EU, right? So again, shows some weakness, which we may have seen there with this massive bearish engulfing candle, but we can see what DXY does around this area and what EU is going to do at this low, right? Are we going to continue lower, or is it going to save this low and end up coming higher? So we can wait for that. We can wait for structure to change, right, into that bullish structure if it's going to happen from this sell side liquidity and 4 hour POI. Now there actually isn't, I don't see any 1 hour POIs really down here to mitigate. I think you have to go all the way to the extreme here to find a 1 hour order block. Obviously there's some 4 hour areas there, so it's surprising, and there's news as we can see. So we'll see which way price is going to go. Maybe it does break out or it does go lower. We're seeing that happen live now. Price may break out and give us more of a direction for London. It's looking very bullish at the moment. So maybe playing out that weak high scenario and this structure where this low has been broken, mitigate this hourly POI here and continue lower. So let's see. Let's go down to the M15 now and see if there's any opportunities for today. Alright, big news motivated momentum going on here. Okay, we had that M15 bearish order flow, as you can see, pull back, then overnight it dribbles down but makes that lower low, lower high, failed to make a lower low. Possibly now we're going to make that high low, high high. So it may bring some bullish order flow into the market, and then we may see this low go here on DXY, or it's sweeping this buy side liquidity, mitigating these M15 POIs, and will continue lower. So something to be patient for. There's a lot of news. There might even be more news coming up soon, yeah, in 15 minutes. So you're definitely going to have to wait and be patient and see which way structure goes. Like I said, structure could continue and do this and pull back down and look like it's going to do that, and we can look into that. Or price has now swept this and it's going to break those lows, possibly pull back now and continue down to this line here, which is the daily imbalance. okay? So I think we need to wait for that structure and order flow. Maybe see which way it closes. Again, there's a lot of news, okay? I don't particularly want to look for longs unless they're obvious. I want to see that structure flow into the market if I'm going to consider longs, right? Because we may be pulling back into this leg. Preferably longs maybe down here once we feel that daily imbalance, right? We may sweep it slow, then we break towards the highs to go up. We may see some price action like this around this daily imbalance being filled, which would be nice. At the same time, of course, we may be seeing it here. It may happen, it may break out. There's more news to wait for. But then again, we may also see price just break down, okay, and pull back to go down, like I said. So I'll be looking out for those scenarios to see if it looks favorable, if I have that gap between news to get involved, right? This is buy side liquidity at the end of the day, especially if it closes out as a sweep. This is an old M15 order block, okay? We've taken the buy side liquidity above Asia. It's a 1 hour POI as well. So we'll see what happens there. We'd want the structure on DXY to also break down and come with us so we can trade towards its previous daily low and go from there, really. That's everything from me today. I know I didn't draw out specific examples there like I usually would using the short or long position indicators. However, right now with the news giving price such big candles with wicks, it's harder to draw out. So I hope I gave enough value with what I gave. Any questions, let me know in the comments. Remember to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys soon.